Good morning. Welcome to Booked Up with Beth. I'm Beth. And today we have Jax Knight and M.M. Bailey on the show. And I'm very excited because, hey, I love their books. So I am going to turn the show over to Jax first and let her tell us a little bit about herself. And then we'll have M.M. Bailey do the same. Welcome, ladies. I am so happy to have you on the show with us today. So, Jax, we're going to let you start out.
Okay, thanks, Beth, for having us first. So I'm Jax Knight, and I'm about to be 1 year published on the 16th of February. So I'm quite a newbie. I have one book series out now, and that's a 6-book series. And my 7th book, which is the first book in my new series, is due to come out on the 28th of February.
Yay.
So yeah, I write dark contemporary romance at the moment. I do have other genres planned for the future, but at the moment, and for several future series, I have dark contemporary romance to come out. So yeah, I don't know what else to say at the moment, except for the fact that my first series is the Bratva Blood Brothers. And hello, Josephine. And I like to think of it as being a perfect recipe for me anyway, where it's a dash of danger. I like danger in my books. There's a hint of romance, a wee touch of spice, because we like the smut. And there's even a hint of comedy or comic elements, or lightness that is camaraderie. I like to balance the light with the dark. I don't like everything to be too dark. I think there are a lot of really good books out there that are just dark contemporary romance. I prefer to have a balance in everything. I feel life in general tends to be more of a balance, and there's more of a roller coaster in your emotions, more of a roller coaster in the light and dark elements to real life. So I kind of prefer to add that into my books. And the same with the lighter elements to the dark being the more lighter side of life. So I prefer my characters to be very complex, but to have a lightness about them as well as the darkness. I was a police officer, among other things, in the past, and I've always found that a criminal wasn't just dark. There's always lightness to them. There's always shades of grey. Life is in shades of grey. We're not in the dark or the light. There's no black or white. And so I like to have that in the books. I like to have that mix and that blend.
Well, you did. You certainly did, because I enjoyed the book, and you pulled that off very well.
Thank you. I've got to say, though, and I will say that book 1 was obviously the first attempt at me doing. I'd wrote other things in the past. I was a drama teacher. I'd wrote little scripts for adults and children for various types of things, and I wrote educational materials and stuff. So I had written things in the past, but for fiction, I hadn't written a book with spice. And that was a new. I read a lot of it, but I had never written it, so that was kind of new to me. Also, I knew my 81-year-old mother was going to be reading it, and all so I have to say that the spicy elements in that first book were there. They're not, I kept them a little bit more curtailed and went for the more comic aspects because I felt it fit the characters anyway. But the spice is there. But as the series progresses, people who read through it will note that it gets grittier and it gets spicier as I go.
Well, I think you kind of get more comfortable with writing it as you go.
There you go. So it's a building process.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. I think you get more comfortable writing it as you go too.
Yes, for me it was also about not being too cliched, but also not sounding like someone else all the time. I wanted my characters to develop in me as they went, and to their space to develop with me as my confidence in creating the characters grew. So I didn't want to go all out. That was a deliberate viewpoint for me. That was, I wanted to originally write thrillers, criminal books, but I felt I knew the romance, and I love reading dark contemporary romance. I felt I knew that more, and that it was a better way to go, but I still like all the criminal elements. And for me, it's about combining a lot of my past life. I've reinvented myself numerous times. I've been an actor, a professional actor, a drama teacher. I've been in schools educating people. I've educated the police. I worked with the police as a police officer. I also played a police officer on television. I've done a lot of things. So to me, and I've worked with writers doing things. So for me, it was like pulling from all the aspects of my past lives and creating characters and things from them. I wanted to allow my past experience to come in, and all the characters I've met, because one of the things about drama, I did drama from a very young age, so one of the things about that was always to be a people watcher. And I have got a lot of bits from people that I've always thought, they would be great in a movie, or they would be great as a character in a book or something. And now I'm getting the chance to use that. So all of my characters are a combination of lots of different bits of people. No one person. I would never do that. It's all different bits, and they're combined, and they're from different parts of my life and different life experience that I've had, or from somebody that I know has had. So it's all very similar. So even the mafia elements, I lived in Italy.
And, so Josephine wants to know what show you've been on.
By the mafia.
Well,
sorry?
Josephine wants to know
I've been on loads. Well, I used to be in lots of different ones. I haven't done anything for the last, since I had my boy, so 13 years. But before that, I was in River City. I was in Taggart. That's all, they're well-known Scottish dramas. I was in The High Road, another well-known Scottish drama. I was in a lot of films. I was in Trainspotting, Shallow Grave. They were all, I worked with people like, oh gosh, there's so many. Well, I've worked with Michael Keaton. I'm trying to think of American people that you know. I've worked with Gillian Anderson. I've worked with, got so many people. I've done lots. But it was all very small roles. And a lot of featured extra roles where I was in something on a regular basis, but didn't really have a lot of lines or any lines, depending. I did a lot of adverts on telly. I also was in the theatre a lot. So, yeah, I've done quite a lot. But
you're an accomplished lady.
In the past. Well, in the past. Lots of films and things in the past.
Wow. So I read your book, Ash.
Target, yes. The High Road, yes. And there was an old Target and the new Target, and the old High Road and the new High Road. So, yeah, my career spanned quite a long time. Yeah. And I played a lot of police officers, fun enough, before I was a police officer. And then I was one for real. And then I played it after I was a police officer. I had to leave through illness, so I left the police force, but I did both. And I played a teacher, and then I was a drama teacher. So it's kind of, my life's always gone in circles. I've played something, and then I've actually been it for real, and then I've gone back to playing it, which is really strange, but there you go.
I'm going to have to watch this show now. I'll have to look it up and
Most
watch
of
it.
them are not really out there anymore. River City's still on, but I was in from the beginning and I'm not in now. So yeah, it's passed. That's a
Wow.
series. So
So we need to talk about now, Josephine. You got us all off on the TV stuff. Your book, Ash. I read your book, Ash, and it was really good. It was very good. I like the girl. She's feisty. She's very feisty,
yeah.
Gracie, and she's a writer. I like
Yes.
that. She's a writer. Um, and I like how she kind of she fell in love with her book boyfriend. So that was so cute. So Ash was like her book boyfriend, and she liked the mafia
Yeah.
romances, and then she was in her very own mafia romance. So that was so cute. I really liked that part of the book. And she beats the hell out of these guys with a baseball bat. It was fabulous. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
all Harley Quinn on them.
I mean, she ended up saving the tough mafia guy. I loved that part.
Yeah.
I'm not giving any more of the story
Considering
away
she's
than
very
that.
shy, like
Yeah, I'm not giving any more of the story away than that. But she's a feisty girl, and so I really like that part.
yeah.
And it was a very good book, and it'll be getting a 5-star review from me. So everybody needs to check out Ash. It was, and there's 6 books to this series. You said you're doing number 7, or you're starting a new series.
This is a new series. My 7th book is the start of a spin-off, and it's called Bratva Bodyguards. And we have seen the characters involved in this series as well. But actually, this series was supposed to be not there. It wasn't planned. And the next series from the one that I've just done was supposed to be the Polish mafia men.
Mm-hmm.
And then these other characters kept popping into my head. And they kept coming. And Trigger is the next one. He kept annoying me. And I thought, I have to tell him first. So Trigger is the next one. And that's the Bratva Bodyguards. And then Vlad. He's the second one. And they 2 are planned just now. There's another 3, but they'll be later. These 2 are coming out first, and then I've got my Polish mafia men getting their time because they've been annoying me as well. Yeah, there are too many voices in my head at the moment, but yeah. Triggers was the loudest, and I always go for the person that shouts the loudest at me. So he's next.
It sounds like me with my kids.
Now, so he's out in the 28th.
All right. Well, we're looking
and
forward
he will
to
give
that.
you all the feels, just so you know. It's more of a roller coaster with him. Yeah. It's going to be.
Well, when they come
the
out,
end in particular, it's going to be a good touch. I'm hoping that it's going to go really down well. It's certainly the editor, Sarah, she liked the ending very much as well. So I'm hoping that's going to really set it up for the next book to be just as fun.
excellent. Well, we'll have to have you back on the regular show when your book comes out.
I hope so.
So, hi, Vera. Vera has popped in. So, M.M. Bailey, let's get to you and Pandora's War. If you don't mind, I am going to read something from your book, which I really just got a kick out of. In the very beginning, you have a little quote that I just enjoyed the hell out of. So I'm going to read it. Action, violence, and a delicious sprinkling of spice. Welcome, readers. You've come to the right place. Don't worry, it can be our little secret. I thought this was so cute. It just stuck with me, and I wanted to read it.
Thank you.
It was just a cute little zip you put in there before the beginning of the book. And I wanted to share it. And Pandora's War. Well, you know, I'm here. I am. Tammy says Pandora's War is a fantastic read. And you know what? Here I am blathering on because, okay, I love this book. And I didn't have you tell us about yourself. So give us a quick little rundown before I go any farther.
So Pandora's War is my first adult book or book for grown-ups. Before I started writing for grown-ups, I've been a children's author for 10 years. So I write under a different pen name. I write under the name B.B. Taylor for my children's books. But Pandora's War was my first adult or grown-up book, shall we say. And it came out in November. It was published through MJP, which are lovely publishers in the UK who've been really supportive and really great for giving it a chance. And it was my first sort of foray into the world of writing for adults. I'd never thought about writing for adults before. I'd never kind of contemplated it. But I was just playing around with ideas. I sometimes get contracted for private contracts. And one of the contracts I was working on was writing for adults. So while I was trying to get my head around that project, I was trying to play with voice and character to get my head in the right space for it. And that's where Pandora kind of appeared. So I am a complete and utter pantser. I don't plot anything. I never know what I'm going to write about. It always starts with an image or a scene or a sentence, and it always tends to evolve from there. So I never know how a story is going to evolve. I read a lot of different books. I try and read as widely as I can, regardless of whether, you know, the subject matter of a book is for me. I like being able to read in different styles and different approaches. And I'd seen a lot of adult books that were out there where you had spice for the sake of spice rather than spice where it was needed or where it was most suited. And I felt sometimes that put me off a little bit because I was detracted from the voice and character of the story because every second page was just jumping into, you know, those sorts of scenes. And sometimes it was very well crafted and it worked. And sometimes it just felt that it was pulling me away. So my biggest concern with Pandora's War was that I didn't want it to be a book with spice for the sake of spice, which is why I say there's a sprinkling of spice. It's where it needs to be. It was where it was naturally meant to be. You know, and I wanted it to be done in a way that, you know, you knew what was going on without me having to hold your hand. You know, show, don't tell. You know, they always teach us when we talk about writing and we talk about craft. And it's something that's really important to me to make sure that the readers can, you know, visualize it in their own way. It's important that a reader can take away their own images and their own take on a book without me spoon feeding it to them and putting images in their head that may not work for them. So yeah, Pandora's War was my first attempt, and you know, everyone's been really, really kind about it so far, and we've had, you know, some really, really lovely positive feedback, and I'm at events up and down the UK all year with it. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the year ahead holds.
That's great. I love this book. And you just, you think that she's going to be with the one guy, but she's not. And it's, well, first of all, Pandora is a badass bitch, okay? And Pixie is like her little sidekick, second in command. And I love Pixie just as much as Pandora. So you have two very strong women characters right there. And I'm all for the strong women. I started a Facebook group just for women. And, you know, it's a no bullshit group. Anybody who says anything that is not positive is immediately booted from the group. You know, it's just all for women who lift each other up. And if you can't do that, you get out. And so Pandora was exactly my kind of character. It is all about women saving women. And these women have been through violence, and hard times, and she's right there saving them. And on the same hand, she's like an underground boss, and she does things her way, and she's not afraid to, do the dirty work to get her job done. So it was a fascinating book, and the whole time I'm picturing like Frank Sinatra type characters, and the ladies carrying the cigarette boxes around in the old time casinos, and it was a very old timey vibe to it, but yeah, it was an excellent book, and I really enjoyed it, and you did it very well.
Well, thank you. I had someone actually, say to me, I was expecting Pandora to be a hero, but she's not a hero. And it was like, no, she wasn't ever meant to be a hero. She was meant to be, a person on a mission to achieve a goal, and she was willing to do that by any means necessary. We talk about morally grey men, and we talk about strong male characters. I was seeing story after story where you had like a meek little mouse that suddenly became a badass, and I was like, in what world do you go from that one extreme to the other? I wanted someone who'd been through a process, and those experiences had shaped her into being that person that wanted to achieve something by any means necessary, and nothing was going to stop her, and nothing was going to get in her way.
And and in today's world, there is so much trafficking. There really is.
Yeah.
There is so much trafficking of women, and even now, you see so much of it. So many people have been lost, and I'm not trying to get political because I hate politics, but so many people have been lost over this border stuff here in the States, and that have just disappeared, vanished.
Yeah.
And I think of all the young kids, and it just absolutely drives me insane.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like part of the story.
Yeah, because after I wrote the book, my publisher came back to me and they were like, oh, this is a really powerful book, and you've addressed some really, really serious and sensitive issues. And my response was, have I? And it wasn't until I actually reread the book and read the themes that had naturally occurred, because I never went into the book wanting to write an issue book or wanting to write a book about such serious topics. But because I am a pantser and the way I write, Pandora took the lead, and it was Pandora's story, and the issues that arose were the ones that were relevant to her. And it wasn't until like the beta readers and, the first sort of feedback came back that it was like, oh, you've actually tackled some really serious issues here. And
You did.
Gone in depth into like some really, deep points. And I was like, have I? To me, I wanted to write this story about this badass gangster that was, toppling empires and, taking control. But her story, was so much more in depth than that. And there was so much more depth to Pandora and to her world and the challenges she was facing. And I think, subconsciously you write these things and you don't realize, the impact that they can make, longer term and sort of further afield. So yeah, it was definitely interesting after I'd written the first draft, looking back and going, oh wow, look what I've actually written, what I thought I was writing, and look what I've actually written. So yeah, it was an interesting process. And obviously with adult books, you've got a lot more reign to push the boundaries of darkness, to push the boundaries of issues. You still got a moral obligation to write what you think is right and, be as authentic and true to the characters as you can, but you've got a lot more freedom. It feels like you've been given the keys to doors that you can't unlock as a children's author. So it was definitely interesting taking the jump from, the box you put around yourselves and the boundaries that you have as a children's author versus as an adult author.
Yeah, I was like, wow. Yeah, it was. I like that you had that issue in there, because so many people, steer away from anything that, isn't an emotional subject. And you had it in there without making it all touchy-feely, where it was like, oh no, don't touch that topic. But you had it in there without making it all, I don't know how to express this. Not enough coffee this morning. Without making it, you didn't objectify it. It put it in this big, big balloon of, look at the importance of me. You didn't make it like the main topic of the book where you had to make people dwell on it. You just gave it, a nice look at without, tearing down the rest of the book around it. Yes, you did it very well.
Can I fire in here because that's a big topic in the arc of my series. It's not in the first book. It comes in round about the third book. Starts to appear in the second. It's in the third and fourth. Because I have a criminal arc going through. Each book is a standalone, but the criminal arc also goes through. And the criminal arc is that they start out with one enemy and they think they vanquish that enemy. Then they get onto find out there's actually somebody behind that. And that person's actually a human trafficker. And that element comes in. And they try to disband that because they're against that kind of thing. They're morally grey, but they're Bradford born. They don't want to be Bradford. They're trying to get out of it. And one of the things between them and their Polish allies is they don't people traffic. And when this comes up, they have to go out their way to get rid of that. So that is part of the second and third. And so, yeah, my books kind of touch quite a lot on people trafficking because it was a subject that obviously I was aware of from a number of different things in my life as well. So yeah, I kind of think I touched on all these things and like Melissa said, didn't really think about them. They just were there. They'd been a part of my life experience, and you forget, that they're not a part of everybody's life experience, but they can be a part of some, and they can be a very big part of some people's life experience. And you kind of hope that when you're doing it, you're being sensitive to that at the same time. So I think and hope that my handling of
whereas
it
for me it was completely
unintentional.
Whereas me, it was completely unintentional. It wasn't planned. It wasn't thought about, which, in some aspects is a dangerous way to write. But for me, it was like it naturally formed part of the story. It naturally evolved into the story. So I think for me, because it naturally evolved into the story, it needed to be there. So rather than, I'm not the type of person that unless I'm writing on script for someone else for a project, I can't say, right, I'm going to write a book about, a tree and go and write it. To me, it doesn't work that way. To me, a story evolves around a character or a scene or a sentence, and then it grows of itself. I'm only along for the ride. So for me, having those topics in there was never intentional, but I was always conscious when editing and when reviewing that I was doing justice to all those people that have been through those horrific things and all those people that, have had to, survive what those characters have survived. So for me, it was really important that it was done in a sensitive way, but also not making it, not glorifying it, not, encouraging it in any way, but, making it part of their battle and their personalities and, influencing the way that they behaved as human beings in the story to make them as authentic as possible. And, I hope I've managed to do that in some way, shape or form.
You did very nicely, by the way. And you just said that better than I did when I was trying to explain it. And on that note, Josephine says, hi, Carrie. It's good to see you. And Josephine says, what wouldn't you write about? To both of you. Is there a topic that you would not touch?
Well,
that's a rough one.
In that first series, I've touched on a lot. because there's also the child trafficking element. Is very minor, but it's there. There's hints at it. Yeah, there's the drugs, there's the weapons, it's all the main sort of mafia type things are there. So that's all that. There's been SA, other versions of assault, there's torture, there's murder, so I kind of feel that I've touched on quite a lot of those things already in just one series. What I wouldn't do anything too graphic about the kids stuff. I could never do anything too graphic about that. I'm just reading Josephine's stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Personally, apart from the child stuff, I'm not sure what I wouldn't write about at this stage. If I felt I could make things done sensitively enough, I might put something in. I'm not big personally on contemporary reverse harem, because in my experience, I don't feel it's something I understand that well. But when it's not contemporary and defined by our sort of what you consider the societal norms, basically, right? We know it's not norm or not norm, but you know what I mean? It's not confined. If it's like in maybe an alien drama or something different and it doesn't meet the normal thing, then I would maybe touch on things like that, or fae or fantasy stuff. I can bring it in there somehow if I see it in my novels that I've got it planned for future in different genres. But for me, it doesn't sit right in every day. I don't understand it. For me, it's not something I have experience of, so I don't feel I could sensitively write properly about it. So that's something that I might not write about. It's not saying it's wrong or anything for people. I just don't know it. I haven't had experience of it. I don't know anyone who has personally, so I couldn't feel that I could write about that very well. And perhaps also making my lead characters LGBT. I've got some in the books, but because I'm not of that community, I wouldn't want to try and... It's the same with BDSM. I've got a little bit in my books, but I wouldn't want to take on a lifestyle, try to write about something I really don't know enough about. So there's those kind of things that would stop me wanting to write about certain things, not because I'm judging them or there's anything, or saying there's anything wrong, but because I don't think I could sensitively write from what I know. So what I know is what comes from me, or what I can write about imaginatively in other genres, but maybe, and do you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if I'm getting that across right.
You're doing fine, honey.
Yeah.
I would want to take something that I don't think I could write properly and sensitively about, and that I might make mistakes in. Like if I was trying to do BDSM and I pretend my character was really into that, I would have to do a hell of a lot of research because I don't really know that lifestyle, and I would feel that I wouldn't be writing it authentically and properly. So these are the kind of things I would avoid. That's a personal thing for me. So.
How about you, honey?
For me, so what wouldn't I write? Never say never. I never know what I'm going to write, until I start writing it. So I never know. My publisher did say to me once, no necrophilia. Which I agree with, and I responded with, "How about dendrophilia?" And they had to go and look up what it meant. So I said I wouldn't write about trees either. So I promised no necrophilia, no dendrophilia. For me, I write whatever comes into my head at the time. Thanks, Stu, for the comment, by the way. I write whatever pops into my head at the time. My head's all over the place, so I'm constantly dipping in and out of different stories. I'm probably working on about 13 different stories at the moment, all at different stages. And I flip between them. They're all completely different. For me, the one thing I wouldn't write intentionally is probably like rom-coms or comedy. I don't intentionally write anything funny, but I've been told that I have quite a tongue-in-cheek, or I have a lot of humor in my books. Again, not intentional. Sarcasm apparently is a natural language for me, so I apologize if anyone doesn't like that. But I think in regards to what I would and wouldn't write, I'd write it first, then I'd look back and go, is this something I want to submit? Is this something that I want out there in the world? But when I'm writing it first time, I'm discovering it with the readers, I'm discovering it with the characters, and I never know whether it's the right thing to write until I've kind of got it out of my system. So I think never say never when it comes to what I would and wouldn't write, but I wouldn't intentionally write funny, even though apparently I do have quite a tongue-in-cheek in some of my books. And obviously, if a publisher's got something they don't want included or something they don't want, I'll always have the discussion with them. And unless it's something I really disagree with, then I'll go with what they want. A lot of the time they have a bigger picture of what they want and why they want it. And the publishers that I've worked with have always usually had logical reasons on why they do or don't want something. So yeah, for me, it's never say never. It's whatever story's in my head at the time, whatever world I'm being pulled into, and that literally could be anything from a vigilante tooth fairy to a girl with no memory on the run to a badass gangster that's taking over a criminal empire. It literally varies depending on where my head's at and where the characters are taking me. And I think that's what I love about writing the most, is that I'm not the one in control. My characters are. I'm just along for the ride. If I knew what was going to happen, I wouldn't want to write it anymore, because I've lost the excitement, I've lost the buzz.
Yeah.
It's different when I'm writing for other people. It's different when I'm being contracted to write what I like to call a recipe, because that's a job. That's you are accountable. But when I'm writing for myself, for me, the discovery of not knowing how a story is going to end is what makes me push to want to get to the end. And then I can look back later and decide whether it's a pile of poop or whether it's something that, has got a bit of bones, and, I can then start to work with it and make it into something more substantial. Sorry, I'm rambling now. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Talk. So Josephine said she's going to have to get these books. And I agree. She does need to get these books because both of you ladies are wonderful writers. And Carrie says that she agrees. She lets the characters tell me what's next. Yeah. And I'll tell you from personal experience,
very much.
I write horror.
Anything.
And Josephine has pulled me back from the ledge on one or two occasions when I have got just a little too cringy, I guess you could say. But I don't write chop 'em ups. I don't care for chop 'em ups. I just get a little carried away with some cringy things every now and then. Yeah, I like to get out there in the kookiness every now and then. So, well, ladies, I am like way over time on this show. So I'm going to have to rein us in here. This has been wonderful. I just can't tell you. You guys have been great. Which is chopping up is okay when it's a little retribution. We all need that. Oh, yeah, I kill people all the time. I love killing people.
Yeah. My son says that's when he knows when I'm writing a dangerous or gritty scene, because I smile. He says I'm always sitting there smiling when I'm writing something about murdering and torturing people, and I'm not that inclined in real life, honestly.
Oh, hi Tammy. Hi Allie. Thank you both for coming. Yes, thank you everybody for watching the show today. It has been just a wonderful show, and if you tuned in late, you can catch it on YouTube. All Booked Up with Beth. You guys have been just fantastic, and I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
And if you will both post your links on my Facebook page so that everybody can easily find you with the show and find your books, because I can't say enough how much I enjoyed your books. You will both be getting 5-star reviews from me on Amazon. Just fabulous books. And wow, our next guest will be Carrie Marzak, who is here today on the show watching. I am reading her book now, and we got a werewolf eating Amish people. Fabulous, just fabulous. I'm enjoying it. Will there be a link to this live stream on YouTube? Yes, ma'am, there will. So yes, you will be able to get that.
It's Alison. It's an old friend of mine. We used to do all the drama together.
Oh, well, there you go. Yes.
I haven't seen her for a while.
Oh, she says, hi, Jax. I'm just, wow, people are still popping up. Oh, okay. So, ladies, thank you very much for being on the show. And I'm going to say goodbye to you. You were fabulous. You were great. And next time you have a book come out, hit me up. We'll put you on the regular show. We love to do book releases for everybody. And have fun at the Stranraer. I wish I could be there, but hey, airplanes are falling out of the sky, so there is no way in hell you're going to get me on one. But you ladies have a great time. And, yeah, there we go. Okay, so bye-bye, ladies. Bye-bye, everybody. Love ya. And we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.